Hello and welcome to another episode of Fishery. You join me here today at the beautiful Border Fisheries Complex, which is owned by Bay Malton Angling Club. I first started fishing here years ago. In fact, it's probably one of the first commercials that I ever fished, so it holds a special place in my heart. There's 7 lakes here. I'm going to talk you through each and every one of them. I'm probably going to be doing most of my fishing on the Meridian Canal today. Behind me is the Special Lake. We've got Gibbals Pool, there's 3 islands, there's Stacey's, Robbie's, Meridian Canals I've just mentioned, and the Match Lake. Now, the Match Lake's where pretty much I first started off my sort of commercial adventure, if you like. Way back when I was 14 with like strawberry blonde hair and everything. It's a fantastic venue. As I say, it holds a special place in my heart. So I think without further ado, I'm going to talk you through each one of the waters individually, and I'll give you like the best tips for them, how to approach them and that, where to start off, where to end up, and what kind of fish you can expect in each and every one of them. Come and join me. Okay, so you join me on Gibbals Pool now, and you'll have to excuse the noise. Just chopping some trees down over there. Now, this particular lake, I don't think there's a more heavily stocked water in the whole of the UK. It's absolutely ridiculous. I do a lot of my coaching days on here for the kids because there's so many fish in it, and you pretty much don't know what you're going to catch next. It's full of like rudd and roach and chub and ide and carp and F1s, there's everything in here. Best tactics though, if I was to come on here to get a load of bites, and I mean all through the winter and that, even if there's like 12 inches of ice on, you're still guaranteed to catch on here. There's that many fish in it. Best tactics is probably maggot shallow to catch everything swimming. And you don't even need to go far out, literally a top kit or maybe a top kit and one on just on the pole, regular helpings of maggots, and you're going to catch fish all day. You do catch a lot of fish down the edges as well, especially on the disabled pegs over there. Them carp will come right close in, and best baits for them is sort of like pellets and corn. It's a fantastic little fishery, great for sort of like bringing kids out, or you know, if you've never experienced fishing before, I definitely recommend you come somewhere like this and you're not guaranteed to catch. Yeah! Okay, the Special Lake, and as its name suggests, there's some proper specimen size fish in here. There's some great big wobbly perch up to like 4.5, dare I say £5. I've seen them to £4, and honestly they're absolutely massive. Tend to feed more in the winter them though. There's some great big carp in to sort of like 20 odd pound. There's loads of skimmers in, loads of big roach. It's fantastic fishing summer and winter. I love it in the winter on here on the Waggler, sort of fishing 20 odd metres, loose feeding casters and fishing the Waggler through the water with maggot. It's fantastic. But this time of year in the summer, pellet Waggler works particularly well, just over my shoulder in the bay over here. Catch very well, pinging out 8 mils, you know, casting into it like we did in another episode of Fishery. The method works really well, bomb and pellet over the Waggler works well, but you can also catch really short on the pole as well. Then carp will come right in, sort of like 2 or 3 o'clock onwards. Best baits for me on here, worms for certainly the perch and everything swimming, casters, but then obviously your corn and your pellets for sort of like the bigger fish. It's a fantastic water, come give it a go. The Match Lake then, this is actually my personal favourite lake here on the Border Fisheries Complex. There's loads of all sorts in here. I first fished this lake when I was 14. As I say, it was one of the first commercials I ever fished. Back then it was all sort of great big wobbly carp and loads of barbel as well. And the peg just behind me, peg 10, used to be the hot peg if you like. It's sort of like cut out, there's loads of lilies in there. It's where all the barbel used to be. But now there's fish spread out all over the place. Method works really well, you know, there's some big chucks on here up to sort of like 55, 60 yards. That works really well, a few markers around it, and maybe a wash through or something like that, or a little wafter, anything like that on the hook. Waggler works really well, you know, pinging out 6 or 8 mils of pellet Waggler through the water. But the most popular styles of fishing, again, is the pole. It's a sort of short pole, top kit and 3 on, or 13 metres on the bottom and up in the water. There's loads and loads of F1s in now, and there's sort of anything from like 8 ounce up to about £1.5 pound. Still lots and lots of carp in, averaging sort of say £5, and the lovely colour in here. The really, really dark fish because of the bottom. It's like a really peaty bottom, cheeky. Lots of skimmers in as well. It's just one of them waters you can come on and just catch on pretty much anything you do. But if you stick to them tactics that I've taught you through just before, them are your main ones. Yeah, let's go and catch some fishies now. So here we are at Robbie's Pool on the Border Fisheries Complex, and boys, there's some great big wobbly things in here. I've just put me extra special sunglasses on to like see through the water, and you can see some massive great big wobbly carp swimming around. It's one of them whether I came on here today, but I'm going to stick with my original one, called Meridian. Just over there in the distance, they've got some great big fancy houses for like millions and millions of dollars where all the celebrities live. But anyway, back to the fishing. So if I was coming on here, I'd definitely target the carp. This is what we're coming here for. Pellet short is the favoured method, you know, sort of a top kit and maybe 2 sections on, feeding either 6 or 8 mil pellets. You will catch actually on either bank, you know, casting up to the far bank and to the net holes, you know, you catch quite a few of that on the method, but because it's only a little lake, that's why pole tactics tends to dominate. You can have a great down the silvers as well, but if I was coming here, I'd definitely target the carp. So the beautiful coloured fish in here in all the lakes are sort of like a really bronzy dark colour when you catch them. It's just one of them waters, this one. You know you're going to catch the big carp at some point in the day. Edge tactics will work as well, but if I was fishing it, certainly match conditions, I'd be concentrating on the sort of like 6 metre line and going smashing them out. Yeah! So onto the penultimate lake then here at Border Fisheries, and this is Stacey's Lake. Now this was secretly a personal favourite of mine back in the day because it was sort of like a special lake. It had some massive carp in. It's had a bit of a revamp over the years, but it's still got some huge carp in to over £20. But now you can expect lots of skimmers and certainly lots and lots of F1s, loads of F1s in here now, sort of averaging £1 a piece. So if I was to come in here, I'd certainly sort of keep an eye out for them carp, you know, swimming around on days like this, and, you know, get a real slow sinking bait on, like a mugging rig, which will go through later when we actually fish. That'll get you them great big uns. But if I was to target the F1s, then I'd definitely fish up in the water for them on 4 mil pellets. Probably have a couple of swims, one short on the bottom, but then my main swim would be like 11 or 12, 13 metres maybe, just fishing sort of like set it at 18 inches deep, keep putting them 4 mil pellets in and just keep lifting and dropping your rig, and I guarantee you'll be snarled up in F1s in no time. It's absolutely run with them. Yeah! Right then, you lovely lot, this lake concludes a tour of Border Fisheries. We're on Three Islands Lake because it's got 3 islands. So if I was coming here to Border Fisheries to catch everything swimming, this is the lake that you want to go on. It's got pretty much everything you can think of. Obviously baits like maggots, casters, worms, them are the kind of baits that you'd want to be fishing for here to catch everything. There's loads of like silvers in, chub, skimmers, rudd, roach. There's loads of carp in, tench, there's all sorts for everyone. If I was fishing it myself, I'd try and get on one of the islands, fish towards the island, maybe start off on the bottom and then work your way up. You know, just keep pinging plenty of bait in, and I'd definitely have a swim short, either down the edges or maybe to top kit and one just right in front of you. Obviously baits like pellets and sweet corn are going to work, but without doubt maggots, you're going to catch everything swimming on maggots. The last time I come in here I had 9 different species, so it just goes to show you. So that concludes, as I said, the tour. Let's go and catch some fishes. Yeah! Yes, we're finally here then. So we're on the Meridian Canal. It's probably my favourite lake on here. I've said that about every lake to be fair, haven't I? But this particular one, it's pretty much the first snake lake I can think of that I ever fished. Pretty much, it's probably one of the first in the country, to be honest with you. There's 64 pegs in it, I think. And what's unique about this lake is they've all been absolutely laser profiled. So everyone's exactly sort of 13 metres wide. It's the same depth down the middle. Obviously over the years, you know, it's silted up in different areas than others. Some are only like 3 foot now, others are sort of like 5 or 6 foot. There used to be loads of barbel in it and all, like loads of little ghosties, Golden Rudd and Golden Orph in it back in the day, but you know, it's changed loads now. There's a lot of F1s in it. There's still a lot of the old original carp in, which hopefully will be snailed up in some of them later on, because the colours, I can't believe the colours on them. Oh, just pointing one out over there. They're absolutely stunning fish. It's because of the bottom. It's very peaty, the soil, the ground around here, and that makes the water a little bit clearer than normal. So in turn, the fish are really like lovely jet black dark colour. So hopefully we get snarled up in them carp later on. Tactics for the day, obviously we'll go through them as we're fishing, but basically there's a lovely shade here across, which is what we want because it's red hot. It's sort of like 1,000,000 degrees today. As a strawberry blonde, I'm melting, so I can't wait to put some sun cream on. So what I'm going to do is start off across. I'm going to ping a few 4mm across and hopefully fish shallow. Might start off on the bottom, we'll see what's what. I'm going to pre-bait it a little bit first. And if we get getting a few signs, you know, swirls and this, that and the other, I'm not even going to bother fishing on the bottom. Because everywhere's 18 inches deep this time of year for me. Come on. So I'm going to put a shallow rig on, and the other thing I'm going to do is put a mugging rig on. So if we can see, because basically these carp, they're swimming around this circular lake all the time. So if we can see one of them, I'll just put like a 6 or an 8mm pellet on what's called a mugging rig, which is basically a metre of line from your pole tip to your float. And I'm going to set it about 14 inches deep. So if I see a carp swimming past, I can put the bait in front of them. Generally they nail it, so we can be like straight into them. But that's the plan anyway. So let's see how we get on. Right then, so we've been fishing about 10 minutes and we've already had 4 F1s, so there's quite a few cheeky fishes there. Fishing really shallow. I'll just show you this one. Look at that, beautiful little F1s. Probably about a pound, just over a pound maybe, but remember me saying about the colour of them, that proper dark bronzy, almost blacky colour. They're absolutely stunning fish. Let's get this one hooked. And in the net, and I think what I'll do is talk you lovely lot through how we're catching them. So come and join me in a sec and we'll go through the rigs. Yeah. Right then, okay, so shallow fishing. I know I've covered it loads of times before, but honestly, when the weather's like this, it's just, I don't think there's a better way of catching fish basically. The fish want to be in the shallow water, they want to be in the warmer layers, and what better way to catch a fish this time when it's like bright hot than up in the water. You see over there we've got that shade, and obviously that's what the fish are going to go into. Where it's really bright, the fish will avoid that when it's like this time of year. It's simply because the shade just gives the fish more cover. So not only is it sort of like that, a little bit cooler, it's masking obviously my pole going over them and spooking them that way as well. Now coming on to the rigs themselves, I've got 3 rigs that I'm going to go through with you. My main go-to one is this one. So it involves a little tiny float. It doesn't take any more than sort of 4 number 11s, obviously depending on the size of the pellet. I'm banding a 4mm pellet at the minute. If I was to band a 6mm, it'd probably take a number 11 less. I'll always put a little bit of grease on the bristle just so it holds up anyway. But that's basically set at, what, sort of 14 inches, something like that. Now, the last F1 I've just had, it come literally on the slap. As I slapped the rig over, my float was on sort of that angle, and I missed a few bites before it, so it tells me that the fish are coming shallower. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move that float down to that first shot, and then what I'm going to do is just make sure these shots are nice and even. I'll demonstrate that slapping technique that I've been going about in a sec for you so you can actually see it. But that's the finished rig. Basically, when we're slapping the rig over, we want to hold a tight line. So from the pole tip, imagine my pole tip is where my finger and my thumb is here. We slap the rig over, and you want to keep that tight line to the pole so that float's coming through on that angle. So basically, your float's following your bait through the water. The idea is to feed first, slap your rig over, so your hook bait is going through the same speed as your loose feed. Now, the other thing that you can do as well is obviously use noise. If you're allowed to tap the water, because the noise will attract the fish, especially F1s, but also slapping. I've covered it before in my videos. If you don't feed, give it sort of 2 or 3 slaps, and again the fish will come into that noise. Now, I'm going to show you a different way of how I connect this rig to the elastic now. I'll go through the actual lines with you. We're fishing a 0.18 main line, and we've got a 0.15 hook length on. Now, for F1 fishing, especially, there is some big ones in here, don't get me wrong, but mainly they're sort of like £1 to £2. You might think that's a little bit strong for F1s, but you've only got to look across. I mean, we've got like a big brambly bush coming in. We've got like loads of trees over that way, lots of like prickly, brambly, bushy things down the head. So there's loads and loads of snags for these fish to go for, and obviously I want to make sure that my gear is robust enough to cope with that. Elastic wise, I never fish a heavy elastic anyway. I've got a 6 to 10 grade on, hollow, so it's going to cushion the fish, but also it's got enough backbone in it to get them out of the snags, because obviously it's on a puller kit. I'm waffling, aren't I? Let me go through the rig. So basically we've got a big loop in the line there. All we're going to do is open it up, grab the single piece of line. Now it's this bit here. How I've normally fished before, pretty much for all my fishing, I've always used a Dacron. But what I found through filming is, with a Dacron, pretend this bit of elastic's your Dacron, we saw that when we zoomed in, the Dacron was coming down. So basically the fish are attacking the bait but rejecting it because they're feeling resistance to the Dacron. They're proper dirty ready in them F1s. So the way to catch them, or the best way of attaching it for me now, is to put the looper line over the elastic, pull that down, and what I've got in the elastic here, I've just done a double overhand knot in that. Moisten it and then pull your line right to the knot, and then you'll see behind it I've just got a little sort of rubber bead behind it. Moisten your elastic and that pulls over. So now, let me pull that elastic through and I'll come back to that end. So you see now your elastic is trapped in there. So your line comes through the bead and then out that way. It can't possibly tangle, you know, when you're slapping over anything like that, it doesn't tangle whatsoever. But more importantly, you direct into the fish. None of this business with the Dacron, you just direct into the fish. Now, as I say, I've just moved the depth on that, so it's worth experimenting. I was at the right depth before, you know, I was hitting everything, wasn't missing any bites, and all of a sudden, I've gone sort of like, I've missed 4 bites and hooked that fish. So that tells me that they're just coming that little bit shallower. So my next rig is, it's not really similar, to be honest with you, and you must check fishery rules, because some venues you'll be allowed this, other venues you won't. So as I say, make sure you check fishery rules. Most venues will state you've got to have 6 inches between your pole tip and your float. Now, when you've got a lot of fish in your swim and you're allowed to fish this way, there's not a quicker, more efficient way of catching them. It really is that quick. It involves an inline dibber. Again, it's exactly the same line as that other one, 0.18 main line, 0.15 hook length. I didn't cover the hooks last time, did I? How dare I? We're on an 18s Black Gamma Black Gamma Power Carp. God, can't get my words out, can I? We've just got a little tiny band on the end. We'll zoom in on all that later so you can see it. But it's a little, basically tiny marker band, just so you can snugly fit a 4mm pellet on, or even a 6mm pellet. It doesn't really matter. Anyway, back to this rig. Exactly the same elastic, but it's this bit that does the damage. Now basically that'll be going over to where I'm fishing on that other rig. Be pinging bait around it, but it'd be constantly sort of lifting and dropping, so like jigging if you like. But it's one of them, yeah, jigging would work, of course it would, but I personally like to see that float go. So that's why that's set there in line, because it reduces tangles, and it's set roughly sort of 12 to 14 inches. Now you'll notice here we've got a bulker shot, no sort of spread shot on this one, because we're not watching our float through. It's just instantly just designed to get down to the fish, and then the fish feel the weight of that, but they're already hooked. I've got a pellet on, it's a 6mm pellet on, again 18s hook as I said before, and either a 3 or a 4 inch hook length. It's very important that you're using shorter hook lengths than the normal sort of average 6 inch ones, because a 6 inch hook length, the line's just that little bit too supple and you will miss a lot of bites. So shorten it up and I guarantee you'll hit more. But that'll be my go-to rig. When I start missing bites on that shallow rig, say hitting 1 in 5, 1 in 6 or something, that's when I'll pick this rig up, and it's fantastic. But as I said, just check fishery rules. Some will state that you can't tap your pole. Most venues you're allowed to slap, but some will say that you can't tap, and then other fisheries will state you've got to have 6 inches minimum pole tip to float, so just check it. But where pretty much anything goes, this is the one to go to, trust me. And then my last rig is the mugging one. So basically, this time of year, what you'll get a lot of big fish, particularly carp, swimming up and down, certainly when it's sort of calm and really bright. I want to be intercepting them. What you've got obviously on a snake lake, I mean this lake is like, it's completely round, and what tends to happen on waters like this, the fish will be swimming round in a circle pretty much all day. Now every now and again you'll see some swim through, so that's when I'll have this ready to go. You see I've got my bait on there ready, so I'll ship back nice and quick from where I've been fishing, pick this one up, unhook it out of the elastic, and I'll literally, I'm looking to sort of swing it about a foot in front of the fish. So judge which way the fish is swimming, put it a foot in front of the fish, and I said 9 times out of 10 that fish will take the bait, and you can do some massive weights this time of year doing it. I've had some silly weights, sort of like well in excess of 300 pound, you know. It's one of them, it's frowned upon by a few people, but you fish to win, you know. If you're in a match, you fish to win, simple as that. And it's a brilliant way of catching fish. It's really quick and efficient. You don't foul hook any, unless you sort of put it over the backs by mistake, but you know, it's just one of them. And it's brilliant, as I said, for targeting them carp. This rig, you can fish a lot heavier, so I've got a 0.20 main line, and I've got, see I've got a long hook length there, and it's 0.18, so it's basically like my Waggler setup, big loops and all that, and we've got a big 14s hook on, and we've got a slightly bigger band. Now, try sort of, you know, your washters, your wafters, things like that, something that's really slow falling, a bunch of 4 or 5 white maggots, a bit of meat, anything sort of bright and visible, corn skin, or just like your plain old pellet, you know, anything like that will work. Something that's like a bit visible but will fall really slow. No shot whatsoever down the line. As I say, it's a 12-inch hook length, and I've got 2 big loops on. Again, that's going to sort of create a bit of friction through the water, and it'll just slow that bait down as it's falling. It's pretty much the only time I'd ever use a traditional dibber, not like the inline dibber, but a traditional dibber is for this style of fishing. All I've got is 5 number 8 shots under that, 4 12s dibber, and it's just more of a weight aid than anything to get me to where the fish are. And you'll see there's a good sort of 3 foot of line between pole tip and float, and that's important because, excuse the helicopter, how dare it, that's important because it keeps your pole tip away from the fish, so you're not spooking them. As I say, it's an important part of my armoury. It's something that I'd always set up this time of year, and I honestly think it makes a big difference. You don't really have to feed, you know. Obviously it's all about priming your swim for where you are fishing shallow proper, and then when you do see a fish out of the corner of your eye, and that is where polarised glasses come into play, because you can actually proper see through the water and you can see which direction they're swimming, even if they're like a foot or even 2 foot down. Just see them out of sort of like corner of your eye or in your periphery, and then just get ready for it. So that's always baited up on my side tray, so it can be nice and quick, coming straight back and getting straight into them. Let's go and catch some more fish, eh? action is thick and fast now, proper. Getting one every go in. I've changed to that shallow rig, as you'll see I'm fishing literally like 6 inches, 8 inches deep. They've just gone absolutely nuts. Oh, have a look, it fell off in the net. Right, let's get a nice close up of this one so I can show you the stamp of them. The stamp's increased as well. Beautiful fish. Come here, me beauty. Hold it over the net. Look at that. Oh, what a lucky one, it. Probably getting on for £2 that one. Beautiful fish. Look at it in that sun. Ooh. Let's get him in the net with the others, and I'll show you how shallow these fish have come. So I said that's where I'd normally be fishing. We float up there somewhere, but I brought it right down, so it's probably what, 8 inches. Book a shot right under my float, and I'm just banding the pellet. That's a 4-inch hook length. I'll probably get away with a 2-inch hook length now, you know, really positive, but the fish are just hooking themselves. And if you pan across in a bit, you'll see what's happened with the lake. The wind has sort of changed direction, and all the scum that was to my right, where all the carp were under, it's now blowing in front of me, and it's proper give the fish confidence. You know, it's just brilliant fishing at the minute. Yeah. There's another one then. So you see him catching by mixing it up a bit, sometimes slapping, sometimes lifting and dropping, and it's just judging what the fish want best on the day. But all the while, you've got to keep that feed going in. Even while I've been playing the fish, you've still got to keep it going in. So important that. Can't stress the importance of that enough. It's proper rammed with fish over there at the minute, and they're getting bigger as well. It's pulling back a bit, this. So even while you have got a wobbly fish on, just keep that bait going in. It stops any nasty people either side of you, like me, pinching them from you. Got to keep it going in. That's a nice F1. Lovely. And you can see what I mean about that scum moving in. It's moved in, and obviously it's just more cover for the fish, you know, it's giving the fish more confidence. And you can soon do, certainly match conditions of weight, and you're catching loads of F1s, sort of that stamp. £1.5 fish getting on for £2. Lovely fishing. Oh no, that wind's getting up now to blow it out. Oh no, when did that wind coming this way? Oh well. And I'm varying in between sort of a 4mm and a 6mm as well. Most of my fish are coming on a 6mm, just because I think that obviously that noise is a little bit better, so they can home in on it a bit more. But every now and again I'm just trying a 4mm. But certainly 6s have been a little bit better. Ooh. And there's another one snarled up. So what I tend to do, as soon as I've hooked one, you'll see I feed, then I'll bring it back to about halfway, feed again, and then if it's a bit wobbly, I'll feed once I've unhooked it. It's a better F1 this one, this is a nice one. So it's still a bit angry, so I'm going to feed again, and then get ready with that net. Sort of 8 to 15 pellets, something like that. 4mm certainly. If it was 6mm, I wouldn't put as many in, I'd be putting 4 to 8 in or something. It's all about getting the fish competing shallow. I don't want to put loads of bait in because the fish are already in the peg. We just want to get them competing basically. If we wanted to keep them on the bottom, then maybe we'd have to put more in. But we don't want to fish on the bottom. Oh, dare we. Right, I'm going to concentrate and get this one in the net. Yes, he is. Now I'm going to feed again, just to keep that shoal interested, but to be fair, there's only me on the lake pretty much. They're not going to go anywhere. This is a lovely F1, this one. Look at the colours on that. Let me unhook him. Oh, he's unhooked himself. Look at that. It's sort of like got yellows and hooks in my fingers. Let me get that hook out my finger out. Look at the lovely colours on this. It's sort of like golds and oranges and yellow and purples and greens and blacks and silvers, and look at that. Look at it in the sun. It's like every rainbow colour, isn't it? It's like a rainbow fish. That is stunning. That's what I mean about the colours of them in here. With it being such a like clear water, it doesn't show the colours off, like really vivid. What I want to do is mug one of these carp so I can show you like the real vivid colours on them as well, but I just haven't seen any. Normally they're in this scum, so hopefully that sun goes down a bit. It might give us a chance. We've had a little common, about £2. That was a nice fish. I'll show you that one in a bit, but normally, as I say, we're seeing these carp just mooching through. That's what usually happens, but I think because it is so hot and so bright, I'd imagine the carp would just be in the cover. They'll be like, I'm not swimming around in this, I'm just going to bathe. So they'll be like, ugh. Either in the like near bank cover in the reeds or across in the vegetation on the far bank. Simple as that, unfortunately, but we're getting F1s every go in, so what's not to love? And as if by magic, yet another beauty. Look at that, not as vivid as that last one, but nonetheless, still another little beauty. And they've all been like that. They've all been averaging sort of like £1.50. It's, for like my style of fishing, match fishing, this is the quickest, most efficient way of putting a weight of fish together. But obviously from a pleasure fishing perspective, when the weather's like this, you're seeing how quick it is. There's honestly not a better way of catching shallow. Go and give it a go. Well, you lovely lot, I promise you a mugger, and eventually we've had one. I mean, match conditions, I'd have never come off them F1s because there's loads there, but I saw this wobbly thing come through, and I thought we'd have seen more, as I said before, but it can only be the warm weather. And I've had a go for it, and it took it on its second go. So first go, I put it over its back, but yeah, second go, it's taking it. Now you wait, you see the colours on this stunner. Absolutely immaculate. These are nice carp, him. It's probably £5, I'd say. Get that hook out of him. And then, show you how beautiful he is. Or she, you know. Right, look at that. Is that just a stunning fish or what? Absolutely fin perfect, immaculate. Ooh, it's going to jump, it's going to go, it's going to go. I'm going to put it over the net. Well, it just shows you, it said that all the fish like this at Bord are in absolutely awesome condition. And it's just fantastic fishing, you know. Quite a lot of the time the mouths are absolutely immaculate on them as well. They've still got that like layer of skin. They're just, a lot of them have never even been caught before. So if you follow what we've done today, you know, feeding wise, little and often, and then if you do see one cruising through, have a go for it. I guarantee they'll take it. As long as you don't chuck it over the backs like I did on the first one, no. But no, it's fantastic. Just give it a go and you will absolutely love it. Well, as you can probably hear, there's quite a few fish in here, which I'll show you lovely folks in a sec. But before we go, make sure you check out fishery.co.uk, you know, for all the sort of weather reports and fisheries and how they're fishing in your area. And in the meantime, from Border Fisheries, it's been an absolutely fantastic, probably what, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at the most I've fished for. Oh, they wanted to get out. We've probably got a good, I'd say, £50. I'll show them you in a sec. Just bear with me, I'm just going to get them out for you. Mainly F1s, there's a couple of carp. So there's a good £50 in there. Decent carp, sort of like £5 that we had mugging. There's another common in there, probably about £2 or £3. But mainly F1s, and it's just been one hell of a session. So get yourself down to Border and give it a go.